Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all here in this webinar session being conducted by TNV Academy. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Ashutosh Kumar Sinha. The topic with which Mr. Sinha is here today is AS9100 standard and clause 8 operation of this particular standard. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Ashutosh Kumar Sinha, has done his bachelor's in engineering in metallurgy stream. He is also a lead auditor in ISO 9001 and AS9100 standard. Mr. Ashutosh Kumar Sinha has audited several organizations for ISO 9001 and AS9100 standards and has helped several others for their implementation as well. He has an industrial experience of more than 38 plus years in field of production, manufacturing, quality control and quality assurance. He has been imparting training to a number of organizations, entrepreneurs, and individuals on various topics related to ISO terminologies and aerospace dynamics. It was just a brief introduction of our guest speaker today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ashutosh Kumar Sinha. I may request Mr. Ashutosh Kumar Sinha now to please take over and start the webinar.
Oh, thank you, Apurav, for giving me an opportunity to conduct a webinar on aerospace standard AS9100 2016. I welcome all the participants who are present here, and this is my third session on AS9100 2016. First session was just introduction to aerospace standard, and second, I have covered the clause 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, this is the third session where I am going to cover the clause number 8, that is operation. The clause number 8 has a 7 sub clauses. Out of that, 6 I am going to discuss here, and one clause, that is 8.3, design and development of products and services, which will be discussed maybe in next session. To start with, I understand most of the participants are very well known of ISO 9001, even with revision of 2015, and this is the aerospace standard where base standard is ISO 9001 and certain additional clauses or subsection has been added in this standard to meet the aerospace requirement, basically in view of regulatory requirements, safety requirements. Since aerospace equipment have a very long life, in those, by considering all those things, the additional subsection has been added in at different clauses. For the participant, I have highlighted with the yellow color where the additional clause has been added in AS9100 aerospace standard. We start with 8.1, that is first clause, that is operational planning and control. Under this clause, there are 4 sub clauses, that is operational risk management, configuration management, product safety, and prevention of counterfeit products. You see here the product safety and prevention of counterfeit products are the additional requirement in aerospace standard. Now we'll go one by one clauses, and especially where the AS standard had additional requirement, I will like to explain more in detail and other things, since it is well known for you people, so I will go through this briefly. Now, realization of product has been replaced by the operation. This section deals only with the manufacturing or services delivery process and the product service design covered in section 8.3. Operation is more or less planning activity. This reinforces the planning and control activity with the disposition. Planning activity are done for the purpose of to ensure on-time delivery of the product and services, to prevent delivery of non-conformance products to ensure involvement of people from all the sections. Here, to ensure on-time delivery is the addition in aerospace standard. This means organization has to monitor the on-time delivery by using the key indicator in their processes. This operation section start from it is basically realization of product, start from the process to end, and it include also like inspection, you can say control on specification, preservation, handling, packaging, and lastly recycling or disposal of the final product at the end of life. This is very important in case of aerospace industry. So this include production, personal and product safety, producibility and inspectability, reliability, availability, and maintainability. These are the things to be considered when it is determining the requirement of product and services. Selection and development of embedded software, product obsolescence, prevention, detection, and removal of foreign objects, handling, packaging, preservation, and product at the end of the life. During this process, organizations are required to determine the requirement of product and services, which also include, in addition to that, criteria for acceptance and competency of personnel, that is called quality control or inspection, and the person who is doing, they should be competent enough to do all activities. Resources must be evaluated. If any new product we are introducing or change in the product, then resources has to be evaluated in terms of manpower, new skill, new equipment, and new measuring devices. Continuing with operation and planning, I would like to give emphasis on for AS standard. Whatever is not highlighted in yellow, you must be very much familiar with that. The organization must determine the controls they will implement to control the processes and the documented information required to ensure and to demonstrate the processes are carried out effectively. This is a basic requirements have been put in ISO 9001. About that, aerospace standard is very specific about the process and control to manage critical item and the variation control of key characteristic. This definition of the critical item, variation, and key characteristic already I have explained in the last session, and control are defined at every stage of production and services for critical items, and statistical method to be adopted to control the key characteristic attributes. Here it says when you are producing the critical item where the certain key characteristic is specified by the designer, that should be statistically controlled. Means that should be measured, absolute value should be measured, and it should be controlled to minimize the variation. Engagement or representative to look after function of the operation and control. This is the one of the requirement. There should be dedicated person for the operation and control, which is not there in ISO. It also says the determined processes and resources to support the maintenance activity of product and services after delivery. In general, any industry, it is not must they should give the maintenance activity of the product and services after delivery. But in case of aerospace or any airborne equipment, if you are manufacturing either maybe flying machine, maybe airplane, maybe helicopter, or whatever, that is very much necessary. You have to give the maintenance support and after delivery. That's why this sentence has been added purposely in the aerospace standard. Further, in planning stage, organization need to determine what to get from external provider. Here, the external provider, of course, that is comes in the ISO 9000 also. But here a specific requirement is given in planning stage, organization need to determine and control needed to prevent delivery of non-conforming product to the customer, including from external provider. This means he says when you are delivering the product own production, you are responsible for the product quality, even if you are supplying from the external provider, either bought out item or part of the machine part. Specifically, it is spelled in the aerospace standard. Clause 18.1 says the output of the planning shall be suitable for organization, operation, and nature of product. This gives freedom to organization that the output planning, whatever doing, output of this planning shall be whatever operation control planning we are doing, or that should be based on the your nature of the product. So based on the nature of product, each organization, every organization that design, they can plan their output. The output from the process can be in variety form. In addition to physical output, that can be certain different form also. It's called output, like including control plan, process flow diagram, process failure mode and effect analysis, instruction manuals, service delivery checklist, and process plan. This also one way it is output of your operation planning and control. In case of organization decide to outsource a part of work, then it create a new requirement for ensuring that outsource process is controlled. It will be discussed further in section detail in section 8.4. But A standard promotes the implementation of integrated. You can see the note says integrated phase process. What does mean integrated phase process? To implement it as the method to achieve the operation planning and control. The integrated phase process means it should be well planned and organized, looking at the phases of production, criteria, life cycle, criticality of item, a special process involved. This all should be considered during the planning phase, that is called integrated phase processes. We can go like even you can go for first of inspection like PPAP, AP, AQ, that should be integrated with your planning process. Organization has found this is very effective tools, though it is not mandatory. Next we go continuing with the operational planning and control. The organization shall establish, this is another additional requirement for aerospace, the organization shall establish and maintain a process to plan and control in case of transfer of work, either permanent or temporary. Now it comes to outsourcing, where the at planning stage they have to identify, even not identification, only the identification when they are outsourcing part of the work, then it is an organization responsibility to ensure conformity of the work to the requirements. Means if your outsourcing organization, they are supplying the part either directly or to the organization for the assembly, but finally your conformity of the work requirement responsibility always lies with the parent organization. Control of work transfer is applicable. This control of work transfer not only only first year, if our external provider is subletting the work to the next external provider, then also organization need to have control over them. That is the additional requirement which is not spelled out in ISO. If you go further, continuing with the operational risk management, further condition for aerospace organization focuses on the operational risk, that is risk associated with the ability to meet product and service requirement. What is the operational risk? Once it is used by the customer, then they exploit the machine, then any operational risk should be identified by the organization. organization must identify those areas responsible for operational risk management, defining of assessment criteria. They should define what is the assessment criteria for operational risk implementation and initiate action, and they should also give the action required to mitigate the risk. That is very much valid for the aerospace industries where risk of flying machine is very high. This for risk analysis, generally failure mode effect analysis and failure mode effect critical analysis are most common used for assessment of operation risk. The scope of the clause is not limited to risk associated to the operation process needed for provisioning of product and services. Means the scope of this clause is limited to the only operational process, any risk associated with the operation process, not any other risk shall be called as a operational risk. Within aviation, space and defense, risk is generally how we define the risk likelihood of occurrence. What could happen when something goes wrong? The likelihood of occurrence and severity of the consequence. These two terms generally used to define the operational risk. Second subsection is 8.1.2 configuration management. This is a new addition in aerospace standard configuration management, which is not there in ISO 9001. Configuration management is the coordinated activities to direct and control configuration. It generally establishes and maintains control of product or services and its product configuration information through the life cycle of the product. This means your configuration management means any item is made. This means during the manufacturing or servicing, identification and traceability, physical and functional attributes shall be ensured. Means traceability shall be ensured from raw material to final assembly and till the end. This is very important in aerospace industry because any incident or accident happen, then for investigation you have to go down to raw material level. Then it is very much required traceability identification shall be maintained. This is a part of configuration management. The configuration management process must include configuration management planning. How you are going to do the configuration? How you are going to do the configuration management? Means any item is used for assembly, sub-assembly. How you can link, and it should be linked with the not only by serial number or maybe batch number. The man who has produced, who has inspected, all should be recorded as a configuration management. The configuration identification is very much necessary. Change control, any changes are there, how it is controlled, how is it affecting your component or parts, it should be linked. Configuration status, then each assembly, sub-assembly status should be known. Means what type of parts, which configuration of parts has been assembled, and it should be audited. That is the basic requirement of maintaining the configuration management. There is a separate guideline, ISO 10007, which gives guidance on configuration management. 8.1.3, that is also a new addition in aerospace, product safety. Product safety is very critical to aviation industries. This has been added in the revised standard by aviation safety management. Earlier, it was not a separate clause. Depending on the nature of the product safety bulletin shall be addressed. Bulletin is used for the users or customer where any safety issues want to address by the organization, that is addressed as a bulletins by the organization. Most organizations have a certain level of control and safety for internal processing. We do the manufacturing, the internal processing, we have a certain level of safety and control. Safety not only equipment person safety, it is a safety for the machine when it is exploited. Here focus is on the product which is in the control of customer. Now is product safety mainly if emphasis on the when the customer is using your product, then what level of safety you are ensuring, that is a product safety, end users or suppliers. Example of these include assessment of hazards and associated risks, management of safety critical item. Any critical item, if you use in the all critical item, there should be safety management system. There is a system which shall be supported by the document what need when this machine are used for those critical items. Like you sense critical items, there any rotating part in the flying machine or plane, aeroplane is called critical item. Of course, so many critical items based on the its function and based on this severity of the complexity. Analysis and reporting the occurrence when anything happen on those, then it is part of the safety procedure. Immediately it should be reported which is affecting the safety. Communication of this event and immediate, there should be investigation and training should be provided, so it should not occur or should not get repeated. Fourth subclause 8.1.4, that is prevention of counterfeit parts. This is a new requirement has been added to prevent use of counterfeit or suspected counterfeit part. You know, any aerospace, first of all, each item is critical, and among those items also, few items are very, very critical, where anything goes wrong, there is no chance of preventing from accident. That's why counterfeit is become very important in case of aerospace industries. What is counterfeit part? Earlier I have, I think, explained, and now again I am telling, this is an unauthorized copy, imitation, substitute or modified parts in form of material, parts, component, which is knowingly misrepresented as a genuine part of an original or authorized manufacturer. Any part, in simply we can say any genuine part, in place of genuine part we are putting any part, other part which may not be functionally similar to that or maybe not certified in, that is called counterfeit part. When you put in the operation, it may not function as required by the genuine part. So this aerospace given a quite good caution, you can say, how organization to prevent use of counterfeit part. Any false identification, even counterfeit, not only parts by change of material or change of dimension, but any false identification of marking or labeling, grade, serial number, date, code, documentation, performance, characteristic also considered as a counterfeit part. If certain SOP is made, how to, where to put the serial number, how to put the serial number, what should be pattern of serial number, how to put the date code, if that is also not done on the part, that also can be considered as a counterfeit part. What are the process for prevention of counterfeit part? Of course, certain guideline is given, like training of person for awareness and prevention of counterfeit part. Even person who is doing assembly, who is doing purchasing, they should be aware of how to prevent the counterfeit part. What the precaution to be taken to so that counterfeit part is not received by, not purchased by the purchaser or not used by the assembler also. Control of externally provided product from OEM. Then how to control? Once either you should have direct you should purchase from OEM or maybe authorized distributor, or you should approve the source. Organization shall approve the source by the validating and by the seeing, by the audit or whatever means they are using. They should approve the source so that you should not, purchase department should not purchase from other source, and we can avoid the counterfeit part. Assuring traceability of part and component, like when I was working in Russian project, the Russian has system of marking, and that system are very peculiar. And then we used to always check those marking. It is given by the Russian or somebody else has put it, or it is different. If it is little different, the system of marking on the part, that we always suspect is maybe counterfeit part. This verification, you should verify the document, maybe document of the testing report, maybe from OEM, because there may be many suppliers available in the world for the aerospace industry, but OEM may be few. So you should know who is the OEM. Any supplier is giving, you should check the certificate. It is issued by OEM or not, test certificate especially, or maybe acceptance certificate. Monitoring and reporting for external sources. Then what do you, if you find the counterfeit part, either you quarantine and reporting of suspected or detected counterfeit. Immediate shall be reported. That is a basically requirement for the counterfeit part as per AS standard. Lot of care has been taken so that it is prevented by the organization. Now we'll go to 8.2, that is requirements for products and services. It has a 4 sub clauses: customer communication, determining the requirement related to products and services, review of the requirements related to product and services, change to requirements related to products and services. There are 4 which is same as ISO 9001. There is no difference in the clauses. There may be certain addition, few addition, maybe minor addition, that if I am coming, will come across and then I can explain. So briefly, we can tell customer communication ensures that how and with whom customer correspond on the important aspect of business relationship, including product and services, information, inquiries, order, contract, amendment, feedback, complaint, handling of their property, and require contingency plan. The contingency plan is very important for industry. Any time you need certain urgent requirement or any mishap have happened, then you should have contingency plan. So on this aspect, how you do the communication with the stakeholder, with the other party, customer, that is here is specific to the customer, that is called customer communication. Establishing a specific requirement of contingency plan is added in the revised standard. This was not there earlier, but 2015 ISO 9001 it has been added, and same thing has been adopted by aerospace standard also. Then what should be any source, a supplier is there, anything can happen to supplier, then what should be alternate? That is basically one of the contingency plan. It can be for supplier, it can be for equipment, it can be for tooling, it can be for infrastructure, or even the manpower. Determine the requirement of product and services. Continuing with that, I will like to give the more emphasis on the aerospace additional requirement. Aerospace product and services have a special requirement in terms of its usage, storage, operational limitation, and regulatory requirement shall be determined. This is an addition to the ISO 9001. You know, these words, of course, any organization has an option to do it, and in this they should maintain the document or they should give the evidence, but may not be mandatory. But aerospace, since they have added a special requirement in terms of usage, storage, operational limitation, and regulatory requirements shall be where the usage, how your equipment is going to use it. That complete guidelines should be available with the customer. It is very much required. Once you flying machine, either a fighter plane or any passenger plane goes to the users, then complete instruction is given how to use, what are the checks should be carried out, all everything available with the customer. Not in case of other product. Even in automobiles, customer does not know, but their service center they may be knowing. But here you have to give to users. Service center in most of the cases becomes OEM only, but certain due to certain limitation, there has to be certain servicing, certain you can say schedule checks. Those things is called how to use the equipment and how to store. That also very important. And what is storage life of engine? What is storage life of aircraft? That is always different. What is the storage life of aggregates, pumps? They have a different storage life. It's not necessary they all have common storage life. In that case, there will be proper clear instruction and it should be determined, and it should be a regulatory requirement. What is a regulatory requirement by DGCA? What is regulatory requirement by DGAQA? That should be spelled out and should be known to the users. Similarly, operational risk to be entered. Earlier I have talked operational risk is very important in case of aerospace industry or a usage of a flying machine. In that case, operational risk, because many times there due to certain condition, you operational limitation is made based on the production constraint or whatever. Though there the operation risk has to be identified. 8.2.3 review of the requirements related to product and services. Here contract and post delivery. This is not a new requirement here, but anyhow before commitment to the customer, just for refresh your memory, before commitment of the customer, the organization is required to ensure that it has the ability to meet the requirement of product and services to be offered to customer. Of course, it is obvious. Organizations shall also conduct review before committing, which include customer specific requirement, delivery and post-delivery activities, unspecified but necessary requirements, internal requirements, statutory and regulatory requirements. This is valid for aerospace also. Post-delivery activity means action under warranty. If you are giving the warranty provision, which is done for other normal condition also, any household item also, warranty taken care by the manufacturer. Contractual requirement, any special contractual requirement is there for maintenance support. We do for machining, complex machining in the industry, we do the maintenance support and service like recycling and final disposal. Also, it is required to identify by the organization. If it is not met by the customer requirements, then it should be mutually accepted and then you should commit for the supply of product. If the customer does not try, here also it is requirement standard say if certain thing customer during discussion has come out and customer has not specified in document, then also we should incorporate those requirements before committing for supply the item. This is a general requirement, not specific to aerospace. Then this next 8.2.3.2 says about documented retention, which is any documented information shall be retained and recorded in case of not meeting the requirement. Documented information shall be available. Any change you are doing in product, then accordingly it is responsible of the organization. The relevant document shall be amended. Now next is 8.3, as I told you, design and development of products and services. We are not going to discuss today's session because this is a very specific area, and as I understand, most of the manufacturing industries, earlier they put in the exclusion, now they must be putting not applicable with the justification. So we'll have a separate session maybe in next fourth session, we will club with the clause number 9 and 10 and 8.3 also. Now control of now it's a very important chapter for this clause. Very content for, you can say, content for the clause, where the lot of explanation, clarity has been given on the externally provided products. Even ISO 9001 also clarity is given, but here it is more clear and more description has been added in the standard. If you go to control externally provided product and services, there are three subsections. One is general, type and extent of control information of external provider. It is the same. All three sections are available in ISO 9001. Here also is same, but there are certain additions which I am going to explain, which is 8.4.1, the general category. If you find in aerospace standard says, if any service is provided by external provider directly to a customer, all sub clauses will be applicable to product and services. Anything, whatever standards say about product, when producing in-house product and services, you are following the method. Whatever you are, if you are subletting or giving the external provider, then all sub clauses will be applicable for the external provider also. Therefore, organization will have to monitor through specific metrics or key performance indicator to ensure that external provider meet the intended requirement. Like we have a key performance indicator we keep for every department or every important process. Like similar way, we have to define the key performance indicator for external providers also. In case of customer designated process, means customer gives the process. What is customer designated process? Customer designated process, sometimes customer gives the process. They give the process should be according to my requirement. Then in that case, that is called customer designated process. The process specification means they give the customer process specification or know-how or technology we say and process requirement. Then also organization has to have a proper control on the output of the process. Approved external provider means customer nominate external provider. Sometimes customer nominate, you take this thing from certain source because this source they have approved for particular type of item. In that case, that is called approved external provider. This is approved by the customer and organization take the item from the same approved provider. So in both cases, the organization shall ensure supply meets the requirement of product and services and are processes used as required by the customer. This is the responsibility of organization to ensure the processes are as per the customer requirement and any output is coming that meets the requirements. The organization need to develop criteria for external providers such as selection, monitoring their performance, periodical re-evaluation and their provider. It is there in ISO 9001, very sketchy way written, ensure the external provider process, product and services conform to requirement and they should also have a system for approval of external provider. But here is very specific selection, monitoring, performance, periodical re-evaluation shall be done by the organization for the external provider. Organization also need to ensure appropriate control exercise by external provider to their, when the external provider they sublet their work to next external provider. In that case also they have to report to first they have to report the organization what are the things I am subletting and their output, their product also their organization should have control over this and they should also see if this meet the requirement. Even audit can be done, visit can be done to see they are competent to supply the product.
Sir, there is some disturbance from your end. Yes, sir.
I will hear now.
Yeah, now it is clear, sir. There was some disturbance from behind.
But I didn't find anything. Only maybe some signal disturbance.
Now it is very clear.
I should continue then further.
Yeah, you can continue, sir.
Uh, Though these when product and services are provided by external provider, the organization or in case also it is directly to customer. Sometimes organization give the clearance to external provider. We can supply the product to the direct to customer. In that case also there should be proper system of for system of the product is going as per its specification. This is again responsibility of the organization to ensure that. Next, I will go to the continue with the organization 8.4.1.1. There are certain new additional requirement in aerospace, that is organization required to set up process for approval of external provider. There should be approval for the external. The process should be defined. Defined means it should be documented. Authority and responsibility. Who is going to approve? Who is responsible approval of the external provider? That should be defined. Means the auditor will look into that. Who they have what they have defined and actually what is happening. Any change in approval status and conditions shall be controlled. Mean any change is happening, that accordingly document should be controlled. I will make aware of the all the section who is connected with the external provider. Even it says register to be maintained, means data to be maintained for this approval status, scope, special if any special process we are subletting, type of product, because a special process in A standard has a different way of controlling this. A type of product and process including conditional and disapproval. All shall be a process should be set for all those things. Periodic review of external provider performance and service conformity on time delivery shall be made for the external provider. They are very particular about the on-time delivery, because in aerospace industries, on-time delivery is very important, because it not only hold the production, it affect the customer also. Periodical audit shall be performed to ensure product and services conformity. Feedback system on quality issue to be established. Organization should take necessary action when dealing with the external provider that they do not meet the, if they not meet the specification, then necessary action must be there from the organization or from the external provider when they are not meeting the requirement, so that it can be corrected in the subsequent batches. Organization define requirement for controlling documented information retained by the external, then all documented information shall be controlled by the organization. They should define what document they should keep, how long they should keep, and that should be accessible to the organization. This is the additional requirement which can put in the A standard. Type of extent of control, I will not go in detail because this is common to ISO and I think it is understood by all. Then continuing with that is when an organization engage in external provider for product and services, there are certain addition in AS. First thing comes in mind, how much control to be exercised for external provider. That is obvious, depend on the effectiveness of the control applied by the external provider. Then how your external provider is matured. Based on that, you need to have a control over this. That's when considering the need for receiving inspection, is it required receiving inspection shall be done for external provider? Sometimes required, sometimes may not required. The organization may decide not to go for incoming inspection if they have evidence that provider uses error proofing process or statistical process control. Overall summary is that there should be mistake proven process. Person should be competent. Equipment should be proper equipment if they are using. They are and they are very trained in that doing the inspection activity. Then in that case, it can be delegated. But this requires certain review, certain validation for the offloading or inspection activity. Even NHL, lot of inspection activity has been offloaded. Even third party concept has been put, and many work is done by the third party. So this is very critical area where you are offloading, subletting, or you are using external provider in the verification activity. Customer verification performed at a level of supply chain does not absolve the responsible organization. Whatever customer verification you are giving, delegation you are doing, the final responsibility is lie with the organization. Why such clause very strictly follow in aerospace? Because in aerospace, any incident, accident happen, it is in passenger aircraft, it is called criminal cases. It can be filed as a criminal cases, but not for a defense machine. There is no criminal case, but a certain case when general public get affected, then also criminal case can be filed. So that's why responsibility, they cannot in that investigation, organization cannot say that since I have not met, this is made by third party and I am not responsible, because final responsibility is given by the organization. Verification activity can include review of objective evidence, or how you verify the document, or how you verify the external provider products. Sometimes if you have confidence, you did not go for inspection, but document can be reviewed, certificate can be checked, conformity test, process control document, result of process verification, that can be checked and can be accepted in place of this inspection, incoming inspection. Inspection audit of external provider, this is must. They have added in aerospace. Review of production part approval process data, inspection upon the receipt, review of delegation of product verification. This is the method can be used by the organization for the external provider. Here also certain additional requirements have been added. Continuing with the extent of control, because if you see for external provider, a lot of control has been added in AS compared to ISO, because because most of the organization who is involved in aerospace, either making the aircraft or making the helicopter or making any equipment, flying equipment, nobody makes full component or from scratch raw material to final product. It is always done by the external provider. Most of the things that is done by external provider. You see the Boeing, Airbus, they only do the assembly.
Even HL has started doing the main assembly, and further even a lot of things, structural item is being now outsourced. So that's why in AS they felt unless we have a very strict condition or stringent condition is put on the external provider, then things otherwise things may go wrong. Purchase product, also called external provider, product received from the external provider shall not be used or processed until it is verified, accepted by whatever means you are verifying. There should be acceptance report, acceptance stamp, and then only can be used by the organization. Unless something is the special condition is given, then conditionally is permitted to use it. If verification or inspection activity are delegated to external provider, then requirement for delegation with the scope, responsibility, then it should be defined. What is the scope of delegation? Who is responsible? Who is the person supposed to inspect? And need to be defined. Even the inspector need to be defined. Who is going to inspect? The register of such information, especially they are telling register may document data shall be maintained for such information and shall be periodically reviewed, monitored, and verified. And this is being followed even in aerospace industry. We used to follow this system very strictly because we have a system. We have above that regulatory requirement that we call DGC and HAL or sometimes DGAQA, and they look into all the aspects, and it become mandatory to maintain it. When test data or we can say IRS inspection record sheet or external provider is used for verification of product, it shall be validated periodically. Even you are not 100% you are doing inspection, but batch to batch, some sampling method it should be validated. When the customer has identified raw material as a critical item, sometimes raw material is identified because a lot of complex raw material is used. If anything, the external provider is compromising on that, then become a catastrophic failure during the operation of the aircraft. Under significance operational risk, the organization shall have procedure to validate the accuracy of the test report. Sometimes sampling method is used to check it if when the raw material is received, or sometimes their report is checked. Or many times for external provider who is supplying the raw material, they have been called. You have to get it tested from the approved lab only, which is nominated lab by the HAL or by the organization, and then only that report is valid. So there, all these conditions, what is mentioned under the 8.4.2, that should be evidence for doing it. And once you are adopting aerospace standard. Now, information of external provider, that is nothing much new. Only the standard is very specific in describing the requirement. The information provided, such as contract, purchase order, must not only clearly describe the process, product. Here, purchase order should prescribe the process. Like any item you are subletting, you are giving to third party or external provider. Then process also should be defined. How complete technology is given to external provider, how they will make that, and they should make as per the process only, product and services, but also how the product will be approved. What is the method of approval of product? Required competency of person what type of person is required to make it, that should be spelled out in purchase order. That's the parts of purchase order. For this, what is done with my experience, that we have a complete process technology for each and every part. When we are subletting, that process technology is given to them, and first batch is seen, it is making as per process technology, and there should not be any deviation for manufacturing during the manufacturing, and it is sometimes validated time to time. Structure communication should be established. Method for monitoring and performance or verification, validation activity at external provider premises. Even we go to external provider, there organization can send their representative, or their staff for validation activity at external provider. Finally, it comes to organization has primary responsibility for the processing of product of an external provider. No responsibility always lies with the organization. Again, information of external provider. Here comes to the additional requirements in aerospace standard that include control and monitor of external provider performance, verification and validation activity either by organization or by customer, design and development control. Even design and development control that be lies with the organization. Once you are giving the certain part of the work to where the design is involved, then control over design, design validation, design verification, all that be monitored by the organization. Special requirement, critical item and key characteristics should be defined, and any special requirement has been put by the customer that they should follow. Even they should be informed to the external provider. Test, inspection, verification should be done as per the requirement. Use of statistical technique also used for the product acceptance. My sampling should be as per the statistical technique if they are performing or organization is performing on the external provider products. Information is further, it is certain additional requirements of external provider by the organization, but it is not under shall category. This is also given in the note in the standard where it is not in shall category, but preferably external provider should meet this requirement. What is the implementation of QMS, quality management system, shall be adopted by the external provider. Once you are approving the form, that should be one of the conditions. They should have a standard or ISO standard. They should implement. This is not mandatory they have met, but it is spelled out as a note. Use of customer designated provider, sub-tier. When they are sub-tier using, when customer is recommending some of the external provider, then how they are going to use it, that should be done. Notifying of non-conformance process, how they should notify to the organization once they found any non-conformance in the product. It is mandatory in the aerospace, any product during manufacturing by the external provider, if any defect is found, just it is not liberty for them, they will keep aside and produce other component. They have to inform they have made mistake and this component is going to be getting rejected or having deviation. Then organization will take action for the disposition. But in mandatory 100% which your item is taken, there has to be informed if any non-conformity is happening on the product. Information on the change in the product process, any change is happening, this should be given. Okay, this is common. Flow down the customer requirement. Any customer requirement should be flow down to the external provider. This is obvious. Any test process required, that should be given. Retention of documents shall be defined and for the period and how they are going to dispose after certain period, what is mentioned by the organization. So you can see the many conditions has been given in AS for external provider. Last two slides explain what is the information to be provided by the organization, and the same time external provider also should communicate information when change is taking place. There vice versa communication should happen. Any change they are doing in the process, any change they are doing due to their constraint, maybe even the machining operation, machining sequence, or maybe change of the equipment, change the machine center, change of the place, then immediately it is mandatory. They should inform the organization to validate the changes, for approval of the changes, and accordingly scope of the approval may get changed. Right to access is very important. Even most of the company now they are giving right to access. Whatever documentation, what is a concerned documentation required, they through the portal it is given the right to access. They can visit, they can see any technical condition supporting document. Always you will find all the world-class company, they have portal, they will give you all document access to all the document which is required by the external provider. Production and service provision. This is here the first sentence in the subsection is a control condition is acceptable as applicable. This means it is up to organization to decide what type of control during the service provision or during the production they need to do it. That is totally up to the organization. Only it is adequate or not. That is a auditor's work, or they can verify these things. Documented information include digital product, data, drawing, part list, material, and process specification. It also includes flowchart, control plan, production document, manufacturing plan, travelers, routers, work order, process card, and verification document. All comes on the documented information. What type documented information they need to follow, that is up to the organization, but it should not affect not keeping the record, not keeping the proper documentation. It should not affect the product conformity, not affect the conformity of the product. That is very important here. If you go to control of continuing with that, here additional requirement I would like to tell: measurement requirement shall be documented as a part of production requirement. And once you're producing anything, then measurement shall be documented. Means data should be kept for the measurement. Criteria for acceptance and rejection shall be defined. Location of measurement, where to measure, which part to be measured, how many dimensions to be measured, that should be defined. That is mostly it is defined in process technology or quality plan. Test records, specific instrument required, any that should be defined, and even the use of the equipment shall be also made available to the users. Instruction on the use of equipment. Like nowadays, CMM is used, then it should be defined how to use. Once you are changing from manual inspection to CMM inspection or auto inspection, whatever, then it should be completely defined what are dimension to be checked. Because there may be variation in place of checking, number of checking, if you're changing the method of inspection. Only statical valid samples shall be used. When required, the plan shall be submitted, and there should be competent authority in the organization who shall approve the plan for the sampling. That is must. They will look into that who is approved. They are competent or not. What method, statical method, reference document, everything should be made available. 8.5.1 Control of production services. Continuing with that, I would like to tell here the aerospace requirement says suitable infrastructure and environment can include product specific tool. In suitable, in this ISO 9000 says the use of suitable infrastructure and environment for the operation of the process. This is one sentence they tell, but here certain is added: suitable infrastructure environment can include product specific tool, jigs, fixture, board, and software program. That also is part of suitable environment, and require competent person to carry out those activity, and they should be competent enough to do all the things. So then they have added little, given a strength to the clarity to the suitable environment. The next requirement is for implementation of action of prevent human error. That is also it's not added. It is in 9000 also. The next requirement is for implementation of action to prevent human error. Means error proving method, like you can use POK, should be applied in actual situation. It is not feasible to have 100% proving, but there should be method also to prevent any deviation or non-conformance. Continue with the aerospace requirement of production and service provision also includes the establishment of criteria of workmanship. They say use workmanship. For workmanship there should be criteria. What does mean workmanship? If anybody is doing deburring operation, polishing operation, maybe by hand, maybe by machine, then how you going to evaluate this polishing is as per requirement or not. In that AS standard, they call this should be written standard. Representative sample should be set for comparing, and should be etalon. That cart means this is physical sample where the it gives the polishing feel, and accordingly any part you are producing it should be compared. Illustration, sometimes pictures is used to evaluate the confirm the workmanship. Even Russian project or certain defect they were creating on the, especially on turbine blade or blades, certain, how many defects are allowed? 5 defects are allowed. Then they will create the defect and give to us so we can compare. This type of 5 defects are allowed, and it can be compared for the acceptance. Control and monitoring of critical item. Of course, any item is defined as critical or key characteristics is defined. Over that control is required. That should be done during the process, during the production. Method to measure variable data, and data should be measured variable data where the you have to need the variation control is required. In that case, either you manually do, tooling you use, or machining, probing, inspection equipment, whatever, but you should have method to measure the variable data. Variable data especially is applicable to key characteristic dimensions where dimensions need to be controlled. In process inspection verification point when conformity cannot be performed at the later stage. So the in process certain inspection can be done in process only. Like a special process, we need to do the in process inspection because after producing the complete part, we cannot do those inspections. That is called in process inspection. Sometimes is very important, and when it is required, it should be done in process inspection. Further, as per Aerospace, the ability of evidence of all the production inspection verification operation have been completed. The evidence should be available. Key inspection operation has been completed, either in document, either in physical. Evidence should be available as a document. In Russian system, we found that certain evidence they put not on document on the part, like X-ray. For that, a peculiar number will punch on the part. This anytime if you see this number is punched means it is X-ray is done. So the certain inspection is done. Some marking they will follow certain marking on the for stage inspection. So that is the method of evidence for the certain inspection has been completed, or otherwise on traveler route or route card there should be evidence with proper batch number and all serial number, so that we can understand the certain operation has been completed. As the control FOD is exercised extensively in aerospace, very important FOD, one object damage, and FOD is very important for the aerospace industry. So, at wherever required, prevention of FOD should be exercised. Preventing detection and removal, and how to remove the foreign object if it has come shall be in place at every stage of manufacturing. This is very much stringent requirement is followed in electronic industries. The control and monitoring of utility, even water compressed air is used, where sometimes these contamination of water, contamination of compressed air with the moisture, more moisture, it affects the product, adverse effect on the product. Because sometimes it should be dry, once compressed air should be used, then it should be insured. So those things also has been spelled out in aerospace standard, which is not there in ISO. Identification and recording when product is released for next production. Any product is for next stage of production, the evidence should be available if all operation has been completed, that some certification shall be done in the routine basis. And anything is got defective, that should be separate that should be segregated, and it should be monitored. Even required, that a callback system should be followed, even in a house also. Now we'll have a controller equipment and tool software. It is a new edition, 8.5.1.1. This is a addition in the aerospace standard. It says production equipment, tool, software program shall be validated prior to use and maintained and inspected periodically. Any equipment, it is not all product. It is talking about the equipment, tool, software, it should be validated, and there is a system of periodical validation. Storage requirement, including periodic preservation, condition checks shall be established for production equipment or tooling in storage. Here he is talking about the production equipment, not in product. So there also there is preservation method for the tooling. If not in use, how to check the condition where before use shall be established, and storage condition shall be spelled out. You can say spelled out. It should be document should be available for all these things. 8.5.1, this is a new addition. 8.5.1.2, validation and control of special process. I told you a definition of special process where output cannot be verified by the monitoring measurement, then validation shall be done during the production or service process. It includes criteria for reviewing and approval of process. Any special process involved like heat treatment, plating, maybe some special like coating. These are all termed as a special process. Then you should have system of reviewing approval or process. First, a process should be approved. Means you should run first batch and see the every parameter is coming okay. Then at different stage of inspection, then it is called approval or process. Condition to maintain the approval. Approval should be maintained, and when required, reapproval shall be done at a periodical interval. Approval of facility and equipment. Even equipment we are using for producing it, all required approval. Process require approval. Equipment, once it is fixed, this equipment is used, then always should be approved, and there should not be any changes unless reapproval is done. Qualification of person also is very important. How much, what training should be given to personnel to do the special processes. Method, procedure, all should be approved. Requirement or how many years a document should be retained, that should be spelled out. Verification, production process, there is a verification method also they have given in briefly. What type of verification method you should use. The organization shall implement production process verification activity to ensure the production process meet the requirement. Here, this is a common sentence I feel, but here, like first article inspection, FAI is used for verification of production process. On that, there is a guideline AS9100C. That is a guideline for the how to first article inspection should be carried out. Accordingly, organization should do the first article inspection. Here, representative item from the first batch of production run. New parts assembly are verified that production process, documentation and tooling are able to produce the right product. This is a method of when you use the certain first batch of and different tools are used, then you establish the process, and repetition is done by using those tools only. Production is done by those tools only. Any change is there, then again you have to go for re-verification. That is, all documentation, verification, validation results shall be retained. These activities can include risk assessment, capacity study, capability study, and control plan. These techniques shall be used for doing the inspection activity also. Now, this is identification and traceability. Here, what is the addition? In aerospace, under identification control also include identification of configuration status where the product differ from that required configuration and to be documented. Means sometimes it happen you have a SOP where the each product configuration is defined and either component level or assembly level, sub-assembly level or assembly level or final assembly level. It is defined configuration of the part, assembly, everything. But anything difference is there, means any deviation is there from the configuration, from the required configuration specification, then it should be documented and it should be accepted by certain authority. So it required that acceptance authority shall be recorded and controlled to prevent misuse. Acceptance and anything goes wrong which cannot be can be decided, cannot be used, then system should be there how to control or prevent the misuse or losses. Sometimes it is damaged, those parts are physically damaged so that by mistake also cannot be used. Two type of system shall be available in the organization. How to sometimes coloring is done, some color code is put so that we know this is a quarantine item or this item cannot be used unless some further decision is taken. When acceptance authority media are used like a stamp, electronic signature, password, need control of the media. When some most of the time when you accept the part, there is a inspector put the stamp. Sometimes electronic signature is used in software. Physically it is not there, but as a document, electronic signature is used there, and password is used for doing the who had done the work, who is the inspector has done the work. On this, there should be control, need control over control. Any changes happening immediately, it should be amended. Traceability requirements means identification of to be maintained throughout the product life. Throughout the product life means till the life cycle of the product, traceability to be maintained. Any change you are doing, any part has been changed from the aircraft, then whichever part is made, then document should be made so that traceability will be not hampered. Ability to trace all product manufactured from the same batch of raw material or same manufacturing batch should be traceable. Which raw material batch has been made. This is a very detailed they have given in the AS. So the organization has to follow. They cannot miss it. It shall be traceable in delivery and scrap also. Even it is scrapped, that should be documented. Which serial number, which number had been scrapped. For any assembly component should be traceable to sub-assembly and higher assembly. Any aircraft part you take, you can trace sub-assembly. You can track back. You can go back and see what are the part has been run, which serial number, from which raw material, who has inspected, who has produced, even who has produced the part. All traceability through job card, through document, through test requirement shall be maintained. Sequential record of product should be retrievable. That is the requirement added in aerospace standard. So this is property belongs to customer. This is very much common. I don't think any explanation is required. Any customer property you have, there should be, it could include raw material, can be packaging, tooling, gas, sometimes we give the customer, that should be maintained and could be include or it should be inspected before taking the customer property. Quantity should be verified, quality should be verified, it should be inspected, it should be stored properly whenever required, it should be returned back. Any damage is happening on those customer property, it should be informed to concerned agency immediately. This is a mandatory requirement of ISO. Preservation, very important. Preparation of output shall be according with the specification and applicable standards and regulatory requirements. There are three things they have given for preservation. One, it should be at the specification, or and it should be as per standard. If specification is not met, then the best practices followed. That standard should be used, and if any condition is put by regulatory requirement, that should be also met by the organization for preservation of output. Here, not only product, any output we are doing, anything you are producing, that shall be maintained. Prevention provision, what are the things facility required? They should have cleaning, prevent detection and removal of foreign object. This is also one way of preservation, part of preservation. Special handling and storage for sensitive product is very much required. Sometimes you don't use the proper tools, proper vehicle, and part get damaged. So that proper fixture, so special handling storage for sensitive product is required. Some of the aggregates, electrical, electronic aggregates, they have to transport without vibration. That also should be followed during the preservation. That is a part of preservation. Making and labeling, including safety, warning, and caution, shall be in place. Shelf-life control also should be done. Any item which has shelf-life, that is a part of preservation. And stock rotation means FIFO, FIFO shall be used for the product or output. This is the output. Handling, storage, and hazardous material has required special handling that should be followed by the organization. Everything they have spelled out, so auditor also cannot miss those things, and it becomes very easy during the audit. Post-delivery activities. It is once your item product is given to customer or end users, then because aerospace equipment has a long cycle, large cycle, and lifetime is very long. Though post-delivery activity is very important because they have to give the support for maintenance and spares everything. The post-delivery activity is very important in case of aerospace industry. So here additional things I would like to mention here: collection analysis. If in service data is the responsibility of organization, service data should be collected and they should analyzed for improving the product. Even lesson learned should be compiled and it should be given to customer for the better operational control. Control updated technical document, any technical document, any updating is there, any change is there, that should be document, should be given to for the purpose of maintenance, repair, and overall. Control of site work, off-site work also, if you are doing by the organization, that should have proper control on off-site work. Control means whatever control product we are following, similar control should be done for off-site work also. Product customer support, query, training, warranty, maintenance, spare, replacement, resource obsolescence, all should be taken care by the customer support. This becomes mandatory after post-delivery activity. When the problem are reported, appropriate action also required by the organization. They cannot say that I am not competent or all, but OEM has to take the proper appropriate action for any problems faced by the customer. Change control is, of course, is everywhere the same. Any change is there, the control should be there with the organization. The documented information for the change must be approved by the, here only is adding, documented information shall be approved by the identified person, not organization. It's not like the organization is giving the document information to customer. It should be approved by the identified person. It is very important, and they should be competent enough to approve the document, because there many things are design related document that nobody else, unless designer approves this, otherwise it is nobody can approve the document. A change be whatever change and changes shall be retained. Here in change of document one condition in the aerospace, any document you are changing, higher version is used for the users, but which is lower version means which document has been changed, that you cannot scrap. That also you have to keep, but you have to prevent from the use. But you have to store, you have to retain. Both the document you have to retain, which is not there in ISO 9001. Next, 8.6, we are coming to end. 8.6 is the release of product and services. Documented information. As, here, basically, release of product means final inspection or finished product. When any organization completed the product and when they release, that is called release of product. Then this go to customer. Documented information as evidence of what are things should be available with the release of product. Documented information as evidence of product qualification. How the product has been qualified, what are the inspection record, or document data shall be available with the product. Documented information must provide evidence that output meet the stated requirement. That include actual results, test results, maybe inspection result, that should be available while dispatching the item. This is a checklist where you have to verify. A clear identification of pass-fail status are recorded. Anything that checks is there, then you should say it is okay or not okay, pass or fail. It's not to leave a blank. Means somebody has checked properly with the compared the specification and the only decision has been taken. Or relevant and required document must be the set of document either spelled by the customer or organizer has a SOP, whatever document should be sent with the product, that should be available at the time of delivery. Control of non-conformist output. Here the term non-conformist output include non-conforming product or services generated internally, received from the external provider, or identified the customer. Means here definition of non-conforming product as per AS standard, it says anything you are producing, if it not meeting, that is also non-conformance. Received from the external provider, that also called non-conformance. You cannot say this is not, I have not met, and any non-conformance during the use has been found any deviation by the customer, that all under comes a non-conformance output, not only your product. So that is the only change in definition, otherwise non-conformance, nothing new in that. Non-conformance and non-conformance output, there have been many things has been added here. The organization's non-conformity control process shall be maintained as document information. Here is special emphasis has given, a special addition has been done. He shall be only non-conformity in product, non-conformance data findings shall be documented. He said it is called as a documented information. Defining the responsible authority for review and disposition. Any non-conforming, who is now you want to salvage the part, then who has reviewed it, who has given disposition, that should be, and responsibility and authority shall be defined and it should be followed. And process power, who is approved for making the decision, that should be, generally it is followed as a concession or production permit in the aeronautical industries, and where all the decision maker have a signatory of that. Maybe designer, maybe QC man, maybe shop chief. So then only decision are taken. Maybe regulatory bodies are one of the basic requirement. They should only give the final decision. Taking action to contain the effect of non-conformity on the process. Then what action you are going to take, that is important. That should be recorded, documented. Timely reporting and non-conformance has been reported timely. That also is very much important in case of any non-conformances found at the customer. Because in flying object, certain things are not reported, and it may have catastrophic failure on the second machine. You don't know. So immediately action is taken, decision is taken. If further we should go ahead, or sometimes if you're not taking one accident happen, consequently in second accident also may happen in same way. So that is very important. Timely reporting the non-conformance. Correction, action, and non-conformance detected after delivery attribute their impact. And always corrective action uh, has to be taken. Any report is reported from the customer. Interested party include external provider, internal organization, customer, distributor. That we know that. I think use that. Now we'll go to next slide. Control of non-conforming output. Here, important is addition is the it also include informing to customer, recall, service bulletin, and obtaining concession, which basically mean the customer is agreeing with the output. Here, the any deviation we are accepting, then you have to take the uh, permission from customer, approval from customer, not approval generally it is in the designer because they understand better deviation, but permission is taken from the customer. In all the deviation condition, either regulatory body or customer, even customer is the part of the decision maker, acceptance of decision. That also is clearly they have spelled out. Control of how to control the non-conformance. What is almost in case of organization has no other option than to ship the product. If any deviation happen, organization has to ship the product. उसमें deviation हो गया है, then they must take customer concession. That is, as I told you, they have to take customer concession. This is the basic philosophy of aeronautical industries, aerospace industry. Always customer is a part of decision maker. Organization engaged in assembly require customer permission when components are reused. Any damaged assembly is there, and some of the component may be okay, good, meeting the requirement. If you want to use it in other component, then you need to take the here also you need to take the permission or some approval system has to be in place. Nobody can take decision on his own. You take up on any accident happen. Certain units are always it is good condition. Then you want to use it. Then you have to take the approval from the customer or maybe competent authority. When concession deviation are granted, records should be maintained. It is obvious record is maintained. Like sometimes concession is granted for certain period, it can be used for certain life, then expiry date shall be recorded. And sometimes concession is granted for certain quantity, then shall be recorded. Material shipped under concession must be identified. There should be separate identification where the product or material has been cleared under concession. Same is applicable for the supply or when external provider supply the item which is under concession, or then it should be unique identification is put on the product, sometimes on the document. Product disposed as scrap shall be prominently marked and make it unusable. That is I was telling. If it is anything scrap has been made, that is completely destroyed. It is destroyed intentionally so that by mistake also it cannot be used. This is a requirement of ACE. Counterfeit part or suspected counterfeit part shall be controlled to prevent re-entry in the supply chain. Now next we'll go to organization shall document information. The retention of document is very important. It should be either a non-conformity document or action taken document or non-conformance, 8.7 non-conformance, all shall be document information shall be kept, retained. Because during the investigation, this should be available because any deviation may have effect or may not have. That is of course, decision of the investigation committee, but unless document is available, investigation cannot be. That's why we require documentation shall be kept. Last section of the non-conformity is about the maintaining document information. It includes description of non-conformity. Description already I have told you, that is the 8.7.2. That's the last clause I explained. I think you must have understand. Now must be clear what is the addition in the aerospace standard as compared to ISO 9001. Naturally, there are extended condition has been put on A standard because this is a flying machine where any small slippage, any small, we can say, deviation cannot be tolerated, because once flying machine is in the air, any incident happens, there are chances of getting back is very difficult. And considering those things, because this is industry specific standard, they have taken all care so that the organization can maintain all the document as per the required, and actually whatever intention that should be met. This is I'm concluding my session, and if any question, please you can ask me. With this, I am closing my webinar. Thank you all for participation, and if you can give a mail, if any question is there, you can inform me either mail or by WhatsApp. I will be happy to give you answers. Thank you.